Hey there, it is Faith Talk Live. I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
Well, she's back, and what a delight she is. Robyn Chambers, Focus on the Family's Executive Director for Advocacy for Children, and a friend of ours. Robyn, how are you?
I'm doing well. A little tired. Just got back from DC, the March for Life last week, so playing catch up today. But I am well.
Yeah, that's what we wanted to talk to you about. It was on Saturday, right?
And it was actually Friday. The march was on Friday.
Friday, and the 50th annual March for Life. Wow, how cool is that?
It was amazing to be there, and I felt a different atmosphere this year. Certainly one of celebration, because of the Dobbs decision, but just a renewed sense of there's still work to be done, and we're ready to do it. And so it was a really special time for me to be there. That was my 13th time, and it just felt different in a good way this year.
So for those who have never been to a March for Life or who haven't watched it or anything, what kind of things do you do there? What kind of crowd did you have this year? What did we miss out on if we weren't there?
One of the highlights for me is seeing all the young people, and I think it's really easy to assume that it's old people like me, that are going to the march. And what I saw at our expo, so the March for Life organization does an expo just prior to the March for Life, and we had so many young people that came through. I laughed and told my team it's probably because the free stuff that we gave out. But those kids, they love their swag. But It really was. It's just, for me, it's so encouraging to see young people that are really interested in learning how to stand for life. How do you walk out your pro-life convictions in a way that is winsome, not judgy? And I see that, when you're marching, and I think the numbers that we saw were right around 100,000. But I cry every year. I know I'm a big sap, but I stand on main stage and I look out, and as far as you can see, this direction and then all the way back toward the Washington Monument, it was full of people who were celebrating life. It's a peaceful protest, and there's no vitriol, there's no anger, and it's just people who are standing strong for life, recognizing and acknowledging that the Dobbs decision was huge, something we prayed for 50 years, but also recognizing that there's still a lot of work to be done, and having people talk about it in a way that is again winsome and not judgmental. I want to be a part of that every day.
Yeah. Robyn, excuse me, pardon me. Robyn Chambers, Focus on the Family's Executive Director for Advocacy for Children. We're talking about the March for Life, which was Friday. I did see some news stories and some film, and I'm with you. Every picture that I saw, now they of course showed both sides on the news story, but every picture that I saw of pro-life marchers and people demonstrating peacefully, they were young people. Mm-hmm. And I thought, that is awesome.
It is. And I think we don't give those kids enough credit. I think they are really hungry to be educated on how they can be involved in their local communities. And I think that's one of the reasons they come to the expo. There's so many organizations there that they can talk to. And I had a chance to talk to a group of students from Cedarville University, and they just said, how do we get involved? What do we do? How do we have these conversations? And their hearts are so pure, and they are absolutely committed to doing things in a way that is, like you said, winsome, engaging, and really there long-term to support those women. And they say that. They say, how do I begin the conversation? I said, the best way when you come across a young woman in an unplanned pregnancy is to say, how can I support you?
Yeah.
And leave it at that.
Yeah. It was sad to see for me going into it. There was this whole news story about Tony Dungy getting involved and people kind of lambasting him for getting involved. And I think, why would you get so, for lack of a better word, vitriolic about somebody who's going and supporting life?
Absolutely. And, he said that, why is it such a bad thing to stand for women? He goes, I'm standing for women. I'm standing for children. Why is that such a bad thing? And I think it's because, the very left-leaning media has done a great job of telling people well, they're selling fear. They're just telling people that women's rights have gone away.
Hmm.
Women are going to die if there's no access to abortion. And so I think Tony's standing in that space and using his platform in a way that says, no, we're standing for women. We are here to protect women. Of course, he's going to get the backlash, and it's so. For me, it was very inspiring to hear him say that and to use that platform in a way, and he and his wife adopted 8 children. I mean,
Wow.
obviously the man is very pro-life and very
Yeah.
pro-family, and to be judged for that is very sad.
Yeah.
We're talking about the March for Life that happened on Friday in D.C., the 50th annual. FocusOnTheFamily.com is a great place to go to. It doesn't stop last Friday. It's only the beginning, and we'll ask Robyn about that in a second. Robyn, I can imagine you said you've been there, 13 years.
Mhm.
Imagine folks that have been there year after year, and this being monumental, not only the 50th, but as you say, after Roe v. Wade was turned over. I'm sure you were not the only one crying.
I think there were a lot of us. It just felt, like I said, it just felt different in a good way this year. And I think it was because there's a renewed sense of unity in the pro-life movement and recognizing that we are stronger together. And so coming together like that, I think was a very symbolic way to say, all of us in the pro-life movement are still aware that there's work to be done and we're ready to link arms. We have a picture on our I Am Pro-Life Facebook page that shows 2 women that have been at the march every single year for 50 years.
Wow.
And so that's just the type of commitment that the people who attend the march, and it's not, like you said, it's not vitriolic. It's a way just to celebrate. And it's impactful. It is so impactful to be there.
Now, obviously, with the Dobbs decision, it's not the end of the fight. It just changes the fight, which we've talked about. But where do we go from here? What's next for the fight here, and especially with you with Focus on the Family?
What a great question. One of the things that we've said, around here is abortion didn't go away. Abortion went back to the state level. And so now we have 50 battlegrounds, not just the one big one. And so one of the things that my team and I are working on, actually have worked on and rolled it out, is a post-Roe strategy. What does that look like? Our goal here at Focus is to really make our pregnancy centers the heroes. They're the ones on the front line every single day. They really do have those conversations that are life and death. There are young women who their circumstances are so extreme they can't imagine having a child or bringing a child into a world where there's no support for her, much less her and her child.
Mhm.
And so working through that and really identifying everything that a pregnancy center would need to really reach the abortion-minded women, not just in that moment of crisis and not in just that moment of decision making, but long term. How do we identify resources in her community that will support her in that circumstance? And that's what we've said for years. We've been accused in the pro-life movement of being pro-birth and pro-baby. Our desire at Focus was to really show that we are pro-woman. And so we're finding ways that will help her find housing if she needs it, childcare, if she has a job. We are really calling on Christian businesses to step in and say, hey, you know what? We'll reserve a few of our job openings for women who come from that pregnancy center and father the baby, so that there's job training, job placement, and immediate medical care for her and her child and possibly the father of that baby. So we're working on all of these areas that really would answer all of her questions on, how do I have this baby if I don't have a home, if I don't have medical care, if I don't have, you fill in the blank. Removing all those barriers, but doing it through that local pregnancy center. That's how all of us get involved. And I know I'm preaching to the choir, Rick and Dan, but that really is the Big C Church coming alongside your local pregnancy center. After she's made the decision and she's working with that pregnancy center, where do we want her to go? We want her to go to her local church. That's her support long term. And isn't our ultimate goal to have her and her child and the father of that child thriving in Christ?
Mhm.
Absolutely, that's our goal. But the practical side of that is what has to happen sometimes first. When she's in a crisis situation, she doesn't need someone just saying, oh, you need Jesus and everything will be fine.
Right.
Well, of course, we know she needs Jesus, but she also needs a home where she can bring her child home to. How does she bring a newborn home if she doesn't have a home? How does she care for that child if she doesn't have medical care? So we're actually working on all of those issues. at the pregnancy center level to fully equip them to answer all those questions.
That's so good, Robyn. Thanks for
Mhm.
covering the basis, because you're right. We do want them to know Jesus, but there's some practical things, some life things that they really need. And, no doubt that speaks to their hearts once they receive those things. They see that, it's not just talk, but it's actually action on the part of those that believe in pro-life. Robyn Chambers, part of Focus on the Family, Executive Director for Advocacy for Children. Robyn, thank you so much. Go to focusonthefamily.com there to find out more how you can be a part of what they're doing there. And get ready, because next year it'll be number 51. It'll be bigger, no doubt, bigger and better than ever. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
This is Faith Talk Live.